Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining Topcon Solutions Store today. Our presenter this morning will be David Campbell, and he will be going over the AEC Collection Webinar Series, Exploring Construction Software. My name is Diana Alarcon, and I am the Marketing Events Coordinator for Topcon Solutions. So before I officially turn over the presentation to David, I'd like to go over just a few housekeeping items. Should you have any questions during the webinar presentation, please refer to your questions pane on your GoToWebinar control panel, and time permitting, we will be able to answer any and all questions for you today after the presentation. Another thing that I wanted to mention before we get started today is this webinar is being recorded and will be available for your reference later on. If David, you wouldn't mind popping on to our website, topconsolutionsstore.com. Topconsolutions.com, there we go. And under technical support, you will find an area that says videos. And this is a location that you can reference to view any previous webinar recordings. And the one today will be posted here as well. Right next to that, oh, if you could go back, thank you. Right next to that tab is the You're Invited tab. And I would highly recommend you taking a look here, as we typically have our upcoming webinars that you can reference and register for. As you all know, this is part 1 in the AEC Collections series. So we do have the upcoming webinars on May 27th, next week on Wednesday, and that is specific to architecture. And we have the infrastructure on June 16th webinar. So now if we go over to our YouTube channel, we do have a YouTube channel, and if you wouldn't mind subscribing, liking, commenting, we do appreciate any and all feedback. If you do subscribe, make sure to turn on your notifications, so as soon as we upload this webinar, you'll be notified and can share it, rewatch it, anything that you would like. So just those little housekeeping tidbits for you all this morning. And with that being said, I'd like to officially pass over this presentation to David Campbell. Take it away.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Diana. Well, good morning, everyone. Feels kind of weird not to be presenting on a Friday, but happy Thursday, and we are almost there. My name is David Campbell, and today I'm going to be covering the AEC, oh, good Lord, I can't talk, need more coffee, AEC collection, and really kind of focusing on some construction software and workflows. So as we start out every kind of webinar, I wanted to tell you guys a little bit more about Topcon Solutions. We are the retail division to Topcon Positioning Systems. Essentially, we are the leader in construction layout, machine automation, and land surveying products, along with selling the complete portfolio of Topcon products. Topcon Solutions is a Platinum Tier award-winning Autodesk value reseller and a Platinum level Bluebeam partner with certified instructors on staff. Now, we do have 13 brick and mortar locations, and we are in 20 states and Washington, D.C., so that is including Washington, D.C. So for today, the big portion, again, is the AEC collection, right? What comes with the AEC collection, and how can we kind of optimize the usage of some of these different programs that we already have access to. So in this list, you're going to see like the Autodesk Drive, Autodesk Rendering, Civil 3D, Dynamo Studio, Fabrication CAD MEP, Formit, 3ds Max, Advanced Steel, many different flavors of AutoCAD, and InfraWorks, Insight, Navisworks Manage, which is going to be a huge one today, of course, Recap Pro, Revit, robot structural analysis, that structural bridge design, and vehicle tracking. So starting out for today, what I wanted to kind of talk with, or at least start talking about, I'm sure all of you know that Navisworks Manage is actually, Navisworks is one of the largest adopted softwares in the construction industry, right? Well, a big portion of that comes from the capability that it has to support different types of files. So we call Navisworks the great aggregator, right? Because it can take in so many different types of files and give us a great look at the coordinating this building to make sure that we are on track. We're seeing issues maybe before they become a big deal, so we can kind of fix it and get around it. Now, some of these file formats you're going to see are the NWD, the NWF, right? NWC, the 3DS. We're going to see the DGN, Faro, FBX, IFC, Inventor, Parasolid, the PDF, of course, Revit files. So we have a large list of different types of formats that Navisworks can handle. Then on top of that, you're going to see what it can export and what it can take in terms of laser scans, right? So we're seeing a lot of movement with the digital twin, right? Making that laser scan, getting a good as-built kind of existing conditions picture, really, and making that into a kind of model that we can go through and verify either the design or, again, as-built existing conditions. Now, you're going to see that it can export out of AutoCAD, 3ds Max, 3ds Max Design, Revit, Viz, ArchiCAD, and MicroStation. And then as far as the laser scans that it can take in, you're going to see the AS2, Faro, Leica, Rigel, ZNF. You're also going to see the RCS, the RCPs. Those are huge if you're going into Revit, Civil, things of that nature, right? So we have a lot of different types of file formats that this can accept, pull in, and push out, as well as adapt to those laser scans. Now, I did want to talk about this because part of using this software, part of collaborating with this is making sure that you can, in fact, collaborate with almost anyone. Now, Navisworks Manage comes with the AEC collection, and you're going to see that it does give you that real-time 3D visualization and navigation, that capability for the whole team review, awesome file and data aggregation, those photorealistic visualizations and object animations. We're going to talk about that today. And then that awesome clash and interference detection, right? And then managing those. Well, Navisworks Freedom also comes with the capability of viewing and navigating and being a part of that whole team review. And it's free. So if we have someone who's utilizing the AEC collection and they're really optimizing Navisworks, they can allow someone to use, well, someone else can download that Navisworks Freedom and they can get in and collaborate with them as much as they need to. It's just another possibility. Navisworks Freedom, so I did want to kind of tell you guys about this a little bit, okay? It is a free viewer for easy opening of NWD and the 3D DWF files. It does enable viewing of the model hierarchy. So you're going to see object properties, embedded review data, viewpoints, animations, red lines, and comments. It's going to include a full set of navigation tools like walk, look around, zoom, zoom box, pan, orbit, examine, fly and turntable. And then you're going to be able to support real-time display of materials and lighting. Now, I did want to go ahead and note that Navisworks Manage, you can use this to create a single integrated project model and then publish it into the NWD format. And then Navisworks Freedom can explore that NWD file. Okay, so if anybody needs to go through it. Now, what does Navisworks offer us? A lot of those questions I kind of talked about before in terms of what does Navisworks give us. One thing is going to be clash detection, right? So with clash detection, you're going to see that we can go ahead, name and update our groups. We can kind of view what elements are clashing, and then we can pull a report, right, for these different elements and then assign a status to each one of these clashes saying, okay, this is new, this is active, I've reviewed this is approved, or this has already been resolved. It'll give us a great count in terms of how many of those we have, okay, in each type. Then it's going to give us quantification. The quantification feature set enables us to bring quantities from an aggregated model into a project. You can also make use of formulas to generate additional information from the model elements, such as materials like paint and drywall. Your quantities can be generated in several ways. They may be from your model properties, adding quantification data to model objects without properties, and you can do a virtual takeoff by creating quantity placeholders for non-model items. So if a door hasn't already been added to the model yet. The new methods for generating quantities from and alongside a model provide the opportunity to go from highly detailed models to virtually no details and still enable proper quantity takeoff. Another huge feature that you're going to see in Navisworks is the timeliner. So the timeliner, with this, we can actually set like a start date and an end date for this. And what we're going to be able to do is run basically a schedule simulation. It's going to import schedules from a variety of different sources, and then you can connect tasks in the schedule with objects in the model to create it. Now, mine's not playing for me here. There it goes. I was wondering why it wasn't playing for me there for a second. Sorry about that, guys. But essentially, it's going to go through, and it also gives us the ability to export images and animations based on the results of that simulation. It's going to automatically update the simulation if the model or the schedule changes. So as you're kind of seeing here in the background, we're watching the actual kind of progress of our project, right? And we can take and kind of compare this data at any point in time during that process. I really enjoy this tool. I think it's pretty cool. All right. You're also going to see, let's say, some combination workflows. So linking that timeliner and the clash detective together gives us a time-based clash check on the project. Linking your timeliner and object animation together enables us to trigger and schedule object movement based on the start time and the duration of project tasks. This can be a big help with workspace and process planning. Linking your timeliner, the object animation, and the clash detective together gives us the capability to clash test fully animated timeliner schedules. So instead of like visually inspecting a timeliner sequence to make sure that a moving piece of equipment didn't collide with anything like that crane, you can run a clash test on it. Oh, and the switchback. So for the switchback feature, this enables you to select an item in Navis and then locate and zoom into that same object in a native CAD package. Switchback is supported for AutoCAD, Inventor, Revit, and MicroStation-based CAD products. Now, it is important to note that the native CAD package must be installed on the same machine as Navisworks for the switchback feature to work, okay? Oh, clicked on it again. Now, the next one, so I could honestly stay on this one pretty much all day. You guys are seeing that. We're gonna have a lot of different workflows that are gonna be optimized by using Navisworks and kind of coordinating data. Verification is another huge part of that. Verification can be done, right, verifying your conditions that I guess are constructible, but it can also be done by importing point clouds and verifying existing conditions against your design intent. Simply verify, document your as-built conditions, and then verifying these point clouds from an active construction project against the design data. So as you guys are going to see back here, I'm kind of looking at that HVAC duct. I can clearly see that that's off from the design. So just notating and documenting that, just that part alone allows us to make better decisions in terms of verifying if this design is appropriate to the actual existing conditions. All right, for the next part of the collection, I want to talk about recap. So I actually just segued into that pretty nicely, right? With that verification there, if you're taking in a point cloud, you want to go ahead and process that point cloud data. And then I talked about one of the file formats that Navisworks can bring in from a laser scan, of course, is that RCS and RCP. Well, recap also can take in several different types of file formats. So to process these laser scans into that RCS or that RCP, to go into Navisworks, to go into Revit, AutoCAD, Civil 3D, what have you, you will need to go ahead and process this, right? With Recap and Recap Pro, you can do the CL3, the CLR, those are Topcon, E57, FLS, the FWS, the LAS, the PRJ, PTG. We're going to see several different types that we can bring in, and we have 3 different main types that we have to export out, the E57 PTS and the RCP RCS. Now we can also import JPEGs. So we do have that that kind of photo meshing feature inside of Recap Pro. So you will be able to bring in the images, the JPEGs there, and then export those out, FBX, OBJ, RCM, RCS. So what is Recap though? Many of you have heard of it. Maybe some of you haven't, had a chance to get into it. And I wanted to kind of give you guys a visual of what Recap Pro is and what Recap is. So Recap gives us that basic viewing and editing of that reality capture data. You're going to be able to import those scans in. You're going to be able to create, real views from it, and really point cloud view, edit it, and kind of do some, I would say, measurements based off of that kind of visual measurements, right? Based off of the existing conditions in that point cloud scan. You're going to be able to export in that RCP, the E57 PTS, and then you can use the Recap 360 dashboard. Recap Pro is really where it stepped up, and it does come with the AEC collection. You're going to see that automated registration, stitching, and cleanup of scans, and that access to the UAV features. So some big things here that I really do like, of course, are the import ground control points. So if you can import those coordinates into that scan, it knows where it is, right? But what else really does Recap offer? So with Recap Pro, you're going to be able to create those 3D models from those photographs or laser scans. You're going to have expanded photo capabilities. I usually try, but I stumble on that word for some reason almost every time. We can register, markup, and measure reality capture data from anywhere. And you can automatically register your laser scans, which is huge. Also with that, you are going to be able to measure, markup, and communicate throughout the point cloud data and share it with your collaborators, which, Recap Pro, they will be able to collaborate with each other. And a huge one here, since we just got through with Navisworks, you can integrate Navisworks data right into Recap Pro. So you can actually kind of analyze that model geometry against your point cloud. You can process up to 1,000 UAV photos and get back a 3D point cloud. And then again, you can add those ground control points to tie into any coordinate system. It's going to be key for pushing those point clouds. If you're going into Revit, or if you're going into, let's say, Civil 3D, what have you, and if those coordinates are published inside of that model, that scan should essentially align to where it needs to go. And then again, with the export file formats. Now, I did have a nice little video to show you guys here real quick. So you're going to be able to, of course, register, clean up, and analyze that data. I said with the point clouds, you can actually make this a point cloud or make it mesh ready, okay, to bring into something like AutoCAD or Revit. You're going to be able to import in that model and then kind of start designing off of that model. Now, I really did want to kind of talk of this one here. This is that vehicle tracking, right? So we can actually import in something like the point cloud into maybe Civil 3D or AutoCAD and actually utilize that vehicle tracking right over that point cloud to notate our existing conditions. The next portion I wanted to talk about, again, segueing right into it because we had that vehicle tracking there, is going to be AutoCAD. And really, I wanted to kind of take it a step further because I really wanted you guys to take away something today as well. I'm hoping this is, somewhat educational for you. But another thing I wanted to talk about was the AutoCAD Mobile App. So for me, I feel like the AutoCAD mobile app is that I almost want to say like the diamond in the rough. It's that kind of hidden gem, right? And of course, we know AutoCAD has some great features like creating and editing 2D geometry, of course, creating and editing your 3D models with solids, surfaces, mesh objects. You're going to be able to annotate those drawings, dimensions, text, leaders, all that stuff. We're going to be able to tailor different workflows with add-on apps and APIs, and we can extract object data to tables. Well, we can also, as I said earlier, share coordinates, and then share and use data from DGN files, Navis, and Bing Maps. Now, AutoCAD itself can support 3ds, Inventor, DGN. It has a pretty good sized number of file formats that it can take in and help us kind of understand, right? Well, then you're looking at the AutoCAD mobile app. So it's going to give us a lot of that functionality, but you can update your DWG files in real time from anywhere. You're going to be able to access these files, these documents from any mobile device. And really, I think that's a kind of huge step in terms of, again, making sure that data is available to everyone and making sure that we can collaborate and coordinate on that data. You're going to be able to save to the web and to the mobile device. You're going to have the cloud storage connectivity. You can access drawings with your smartphone or your tablet. And guess what? It is included with the AEC collection. So that's huge. If you guys have a second to kind of test it out, I would definitely advise checking out that AutoCAD mobile app. The connectivity, I want to say the coordination that it kind of provides is really almost unrivaled. I would say in terms of, again, making all of that data available for anyone from anywhere. Now, the next portion I wanted to talk about, I'm sure this is no surprise to anyone, is going to be Revit, right? If Navisworks is, the king of the castle there, it's the king of construction. I'm seeing well, Revit is kind of trying to come up to that queen position, right? It's getting up there in terms of a lot of capabilities and workflows that we can kind of push through through Revit. Yeah, you're going to see the file formats that we can import: RVT, RFA, the Revit templates, the RFT, the DWGs, DXS, IFCs, JPEGs, TIFFs, TXTs. And we're going to have a pretty good sized list for exporting data. Okay, so we can go out to DWGs, we can publish out or push out to NWCs, we can make a mass model IFCs and export out all our reports. It's a fantastic platform for being able to, well, I'd say not only push data out, but take data in. And it's only getting better, it's growing. Now, for some of you who don't know, what is Revit? Right? It's still in some ways kind of new and gaining a lot of traction in different areas, different disciplines. Well, Revit stands for Revise Instantly. Revit is a versatile building information modeling tool. That's what it is. It's a BIM tool. It is comprised of several tool sets for MEP, structural engineering, construction, and architectural design. So that's a huge kind of note right there that I wanted to kind of stick with for a second, just because it has all of these different tool sets, right? And you're going to notice that right there, it is enabling that collaboration, coordination for all disciplines. But the fact that, you're not even just giving into design itself, but you're actually going through with things like interference check, or again, with linking actual data, and then I want to say updating those links. You're going to be able to keep track of the information that is happening, of course, coordination, right? But coordinating all of the model data, anything that happens inside of that model, we can all stay connected to make the best decisions moving forward. And really for construction, I think that's huge in terms of seeing what's going on in this model, getting involved in that process, and then saying, okay, this needs to be constructible, right? And we know what that means. We can help share that information, or this is where we take over. And everyone works together to make that symbiotic relationship kind of benefit the project timeline, the project overall. It is equipped with the right tools to build strong 3D visuals. It can export, import, and link the user's data using the widely used file formats in the industry, such as DGN, your DWGs, and your IFCs. It's also going to boost collaboration between members of a team. So as I said there, it's just, it is really a collaboration coordination tool. It's built around it. And it gives your project coordinators the ability to manage your team's tasks and the shared models, which further enhances your cooperation and coordination. So I'm sure I don't need to tell you guys all of what Revit has, but I'm going to tell you a little bit. So one huge thing that sticks out for me is Dynamo for Revit, right? We all know, we've been seeing it lately. There's more and more kind of coming out for it, helping us kind of adopt these scripts. Dynamo has been huge, not in just design, but construction, like the constructability and making this building what we need, but saving time in the process. What I've seen personally is that people of a plumbing background, mechanical background, they have no idea what they're doing with coding, but they know what they need, can either help share information to someone who does code, or they can actually utilize something like Dynamo and make it themselves. They spend some time, invest that time to learn it, see what they need, and then really just make those ends meet. And I tell you what, guys, in the end of the day, it is a huge, huge return of investment. I mean, just in the time savings alone that you're gonna have building off of something like Dynamo. You're also going to see the annotation features. So for our construction documents, annotating everything is huge. We're going to have global parameters. So with Revit, as I said earlier, it is that revise instantly, and everything is parametric inside of Revit. It comes in with data. The family knows what it is, right? It knows these lengths, these parameters in terms of, is this visible, is it not, what have you. Now, Revit is going to be big for structural engineering and prefabrication and fabrication. This is bold, so I'm going to be talking about this one here in a second. Architectural design. You're also going to see awesome add-ins like Autodesk Point Layout, Victaulic, and there are a lot of different add-ins out there. But with APL, that's huge for the construction industry, right? We want to be able to do layout and maybe verify, stakeout, or what have you for different model elements and even existing conditions. We want to verify something is there and be able to stake it out, and I can know exactly where that is in my model when I need to design off of it. That's awesome. Or if you're just, like I said, doing layout, it's going to help a lot with maybe drywall tracks, I'm sure you all know, and then Victaulic with those awesome fabrication parts. Construction modeling and documentation. So we're going to have the capability to go in and model sooner and document everything in terms of whether this is fabricated, it's prefabricated, it's, you know, it's going to be modeled at whatever portion it's going to be built in whatever phase. We can document all of that. We have awesome schedules within Revit, and another benefit for Revit schedules is as you kind of go throughout your model, as you are going through your project, excuse me, and you're adjusting, because we all know designs change, models change, projects change, construction is somewhat chaotic, right? As things change and grow, these schedules adapt to that in kind of, I want to say real time, right? But because everything's connected together inside of Revit, these schedules are too. So when I have a door, I place it in a wall, I say it's there, this is existing, and I'm going to reuse this in new construction. I can track that in a schedule. Or if I'm saying, no, this door is demolished, I'm going to go ahead and take this out. I need to know how many doors on this level I'm taking out. I can go ahead and do that as well. MEP, engineering and prefabrication, fabrication. So another bold one, I'm going to be talking about that one as well. We know we're seeing a lot more from Autodesk in terms of support coming into Revit for structural engineering and that prefabrication and MEP engineering. We saw with the 2021 release that there were a lot of awesome improvements with both structural and MEP features inside of Revit, like the MEP coordination, the structural connections being brought into Revit, not only just installed with it, but the Dynamo structural connections being actually that package being installed with Revit out of the box. That's pretty huge for us, and that structural analysis that we have and the capabilities that we have to integrate throughout that and utilize some Dynamo with that as well is huge. We do have, kind of earlier, as I said, parametric components, so everything knows what it is. Awesome work sharing capabilities, interoperability, and IFC. So I highlighted interoperability because I also feel like this is a huge key feature for Revit. The fact that we can kind of share this data and coordinate as much as we need to. It does give us awesome insight and analytics. Model coordination, I keep saying that. That's kind of one of my buzzwords today, right? It is huge for coordination. And modular construction. So you're going to see, we've kind of been talking about, you know, I talked about the APL there and fabrication, prefabrication. Modular construction is another thing that's going to be huge with Revit, just in terms of, I want to say combining these. That should have been a workflow instead of a feature, but that's a workflow. But it's with point layout. You know, we can actually make sure things are going to line up to fabricate or prefabricate these elements, so that when we do have something such as a modular constructed building or just element assembly, what have you, is brought onto site, we know it's going to fit and we know how it's going to fit. Okay, so Revit workflows, here we go. So the first one I wanted to talk about was structural engineering and the prefabrication and fabrication. So your Revit for structural design, you're going to see that concrete and steel design. We have the integrated design coordination. We're going to have analysis and fabrication. Now, what I wanted to talk about here in this video, and it's taken a second, is the actual precast. Oh, I hit it twice, that's why. The actual precast. So with concrete, what we're looking at is the precast tab has been brought back into Autodesk Revit, and it's installed with it, and it gives us the capability to actually well, make any precast elements that we need and document them. Now also, we have that Dynamo that I was talking about with structural steel. I just hit the propagate connections there. And what propagate connections does is it takes the structural connection, such as that one, and it's going to give you the opportunity to look for any like conditions. So on that instance, we went a beam to a beam and we went with a clip angle. What it's going to do is search through that whatever view that you're in to look for those other like conditions and then match that connection, place it for you. So you're going to see all over here that we have those different types of connections, and you see that they're lighting up blue, and that's going to let you know also that that connection is generating. Now, we're also going to have, like I was saying earlier, with Dynamo for Revit. Dynamo is going to be huge in a lot of different things that we can do. So looking at this, what I'm doing here is I activated, I'm going to slow this down for a second. I activated the Dynamo player, okay? And the Dynamo player, you have the capability of using Dynamo scripts that you can either find. There are several Dynamo scripts that you guys can search through and utilize, just import them in. Or actually this one here, the Dynamo player, this script I'm going to run for these base plates actually came with the install of Revit. So that structural connections one that I was talking to you guys about, that actually comes with Revit, this is installed with it. So I was able to go through and activate the Dynamo player here. And what I'm going to do is, you'll see over here, it says inputs needed, is that I'm going to go ahead and select. So that was the first thing that I did. Was I'm going to run this back for a second. Oh, went too far. There we go. Is I select all of my, I went back way too far. I'm going to select all of my concrete elements to run through the Dynamo player. And essentially what it's going to do is, I keep clicking backwards, don't I? Yep. There it is. So here I go. We're select the Dynamo player. When I run the portion that I want to run, so I'm going to choose the base plate, I choose select, and then I'm going to highlight all of the elements that I want to go ahead and apply this connection to. Then I choose the column that I'm going to go ahead, or beam, right, that I want to add the connections on. So I specified my column. I specified what type of connection that I want to use on that column. And then what I'm gonna do is hit run. And at that point, what you're gonna see is I'm gonna zoom in here in a second, and you're gonna see that it applies this connection for me. So there's my base plate, there's the default base plate with the 4 bolts, and you're gonna see that we can actually, well, view it. It's gonna place it at every instance that it sees when I selected it. Now here is where I have the robot structural analysis. So with this, we have an integration to either do a code check or link that robot structural analysis right to robot. So we can choose any element that we want to kind of analyze here, and then choose whether we want to go with the code check or again with that kind of analysis within robot itself. So here I chose the code check, and I'm going to use a design reinforcement check in robot. I'm going to choose my design code and the database for the reinforcing bars that I want to go ahead and check. Now you can also go through, check all your different elements. You're going to see I have my different spread footings, and it does give you the Revit element ID there. So we can go through and check specific elements. So I had gone through this one before just to test it out, and it's going to ask you if you want to overwrite any of that data. So as you're going through and your model changes, as it grows, you can kind of overwrite that data or save it as a separate kind of portion. When I come over into a robot, I'm gonna see the elements that are not meeting that code compliance. So I'm gonna go ahead and maybe adapt it or adjust anything that I need inside of robot, or kind of help meet that those code compliance. And then I can actually update that inside of Revit. Now for another portion of this, since I wanted to talk about the fabrication and prefabrication elements, I'm gonna pause this for a second. Autodesk Revit has, and here I keep going back too far. Okay, Autodesk Revit has the integration with Advanced Steel. So I'm going to go back to this portion of my video here. It's always the live demos, but the Advanced Steel extension here, okay? With Advanced Steel, you're going to be able to, I don't know why it's still going. Sorry about that, guys. With the Advanced Steel extension, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on. With the Advanced Steel extension, you're going to be able to export your structural model out, okay? And essentially what it comes out to is, let me go back to the end of this video here. There we go, that's a lot better, okay. So what it comes out to is when you export it out, you can import it into, which I'm actually showing that here, okay? So you can choose to export out your Revit model, okay? And import that as I believe it's like an SHX file type here. And when you do that and you take it over into Advanced Steel, you're gonna see all of your different elements, all of your different connections, kind of whatever is modeled. So you do go to with that import, you can synchronize. So that was a big one as well. You can synchronize this information from Revit to make sure that you, let's say I've changed a connection in Revit, and I really wanna go ahead and send it off to the fab shop, but I know that Revit isn't gonna give me the detail that I need yet. That's when I would go ahead and send it off to Advanced Steel. Once it's in Advanced Steel, if my Revit model changes, okay, if I maybe adopt a different type of connection, I can go ahead and synchronize that to pull that data in. And at that point, then I can go ahead and use the awesome, BOM tools or the drafting design tools inside of Advanced Steel that will give me the detail that I need for fabrication. Now, I did also want to show, this is going to tell you every single type of element that you have, and it's going to let you know if it has been modified, if it's been adjusted, if it's been deleted, and you can go ahead and kind of choose to adopt those conditions to your model. We're also going to see Revit MEP engineering and prefabrication. So on this one, I wanted to talk about some big workflows you're going to see are the Revit and Fabrication CAD MEP, the Revit and Fabrication EST MEP, Fabrication CAM Duct. I did also want to talk about, of course, Revit and Navisworks, Revit and Recap, and Revit and AutoCAD. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video. In this video, you're going to see we have our design design model elements, right? So we have our typical piping, our typical connections, whether it's a T, it's a Y, what have you, PVC. We can name it kind of whatever material that we need to, but we can also change that and convert it to a fabrication part at any point in time from our fabrication services if we're utilizing something like that Fabrication CAD MEP workflow. You can also utilize some families. So we're going to see that you can pull families such as Victaulic, right? We can use some of their awesome families or pull some of their items from that fabrication service. So you're going to see both ways. You can import that family in and use a family there, but we also have the capability of using these fabrication parts, which can, as we know, be sent out to the shop to be fabricated or prefabricated. We have the capability to do several different catalogs. We'll pull from several different catalogs, so you're not stuck to one specific type of element or one fabrication service. You can have a few different types that you will use, and that's going to be huge again with going out to something like CAM duct or EST MEP. Now, another one here is going to be that Dynamo for Revit, right? So what I wanted to show here is there's not too many things in this specific one. This is, again, was downloaded right with Revit. Oh, sorry, I hit the up button there, but that's downloaded right with Revit. Now, there are several other scripts that you guys are going to see out there to help adopt, well, your workflow or help adjust your workflow, help better your workflow with MEP and Dynamo. Now, I've also seen different workflows for maybe extending conduit if we know that this slab is adjusted and we need to actually take our conduit up on a certain floor up 6 inches or 4 inches, what have you. Normally grabbing everything and then trying to adjust it up would be annoying. You can grab every element, maybe every floor of this of the project, and use Dynamo to go ahead and have it adjusted or add in different types of connections, converting fabrication, you name it. All right, so that was the AEC collection. Okay, so we covered certain things like, of course, AutoCAD Mobile, Navisworks, Recap Pro, Revit. We touched on the robot structural analysis that you guys kind of saw there for a little bit with the code check and reinforcement checking. I did somewhat show vehicle tracking, but I did also want to talk about that structural bridge design. So a huge workflow that we are seeing starting to kind of come in is more for infrastructure is with InfraWorks. We're seeing Navisworks, we're seeing structural bridge design with vehicle tracking and of course AutoCAD, Revit, and Inventor. So we're seeing a lot of different programs kind of coming together to work together because this is one big conglomerate. But if you guys already have it, why not try to push the limits and see what else this can do for you? Thank you guys very much for coming to our webinar. I appreciate each and every time that you guys come out and join us. If you guys have any feedback for our webinars or if you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask, and we can reach out at anything we can answer here, of course, or if you guys think of anything later, our website is there. Feel free to give us a call or shoot us an email. But did anyone have any questions?
We don't have any questions at this time, David, but if we allow maybe a minute or two to see if any come up.
Yep. Feel free to put those in the chat. If you guys do have any questions or wanted me to kind of go back over anything, feel free. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us. And like I said, if you guys do have any questions, feel free to give us a call or shoot us an email. And we'd love to help out with your collection as much as possible. If you guys are curious about some of these other things that you've seen today, maybe you've been interested in vehicle tracking, or you've been interested in Revit, you've been interested in Dynamo, kind of what have you. If you guys have questions on them, feel free to reach out. We are a resource, and we have many experts in different softwares for Autodesk, so we can help to connect that AEC collection and those workflows.
Okay, well, it looks like no questions at this time, David. So just reiterating what David has said, thank you all for joining us today, and we hope you have a great day and a great weekend as well up ahead. Thank you.